When Andrew Luck retired, it was absolutely devastating for everyone, and Colts fans had really no idea what was going to happen next. There was so much promise around the organization, and people thought the season was just going to be a wash. Luckily, they had one of the best backups in the NFL at the time though, and a guy that many thought could be a starter in the league anyways. Jacoby Brissett was immediately pegged as the answer to the Colts' problems, and was expected to guide them to the playoffs. Believe it or not, he actually did pretty well in 2019, but he was not good enough to prove he was the future of the team. Everybody loves to write him off and blame him for the Colts' struggles in 2019, but there were many reasons why this experiment failed that don't even include him. Today we'll talk about why the Colts experiment didn't work out, and the truth about his 2019 season, and what the future will honestly look like for him. But first, if you love football, be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload, comment, give me a suggestion, like the video, share it with your friends, and stay until the end so it helps the video get in the algorithm, and my channel can do better and I can make you guys more videos. Now let's get started. To understand the Jacoby Brissett story, we need to go all the way back and go through Brissett's pre-NFL days, and I bet there's a lot that you guys didn't actually know about him. He grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, and was a very talented football player from the very beginning. He became an absolute star at William Dwyer High School and was a hot commodity on the recruiting trail. He was listed as a 4-star recruit and decided to stay in state and commit to the Florida Gators. As a freshman, he was a backup, and overall he appeared in 8 games, completing 18 of 39 passes for 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Definitely not amazing numbers. Going into the next year, he was the backup to Jeff Driscoll, starting the first game and appearing in 5 total games, completing 23 of 35 passes for 249 yards and a touchdown. I don't think Jacoby Brissett was meant to be in Will Muschamp's offense, so he decided to move on. Brissett decided to transfer to NC State, and after sitting out the 2013 season due to transfer rules, Brissett took over as the Wolfpack's starting quarterback in 2014. That year, he passed for 2,606 yards with 23 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. These were pretty good numbers as he was a dual-threat guy, and he took care of the ball. As a senior in 2015, he had a ton of hype, and he passed for 2,662 yards and 20 touchdowns, while only throwing 6 interceptions. He was one of the best quarterbacks in college football, as he was a guy who truly was a dual threat, could sling the rock, and took care of the ball, so he was rated as a second-day NFL draft pick. He ended up getting selected by the New England Patriots in the 3rd round with the 91st overall pick in the 2016 NFL draft. He was the 5th quarterback to be selected that year, and he was the only player in the 2016 draft who declined to hire an agent. Brissett would make his first career start against the Houston Texans after Jimmy Garoppolo went down with an injury, and he completed 11 of 19 passes for 103 yards and carried the ball 8 times for 48 yards, including a 27-yard touchdown run in a 27-0 victory. He had shown some flash at this point, and he became the first African-American quarterback to start in New England Patriots football history. Right before the 2017 season started, Brissett was traded to the Indianapolis Colts for wide receiver Philip Dorsett, as the Colts needed another quarterback after Andrew Luck suffered an injury. During a Week 5 matchup against the Niners, he completed 22 of 34 passes for a career-high 314 yards and an interception, but the Colts did win 26-23. Overall, in 2017, he had 3,098 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, while rushing for 260 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Despite the 4-12 record, Brissett actually had a pretty solid year. Going into 2018, Andrew Luck was back, so Brissett would only appear in 4 games. Going into 2019, Brissett was looked at as one of the best backups in the league, and he was supposed to be the worst case scenario option. But on August 24th, 2 weeks before the season would start, Andrew Luck abruptly announced his retirement. This devastated everyone, was super unexpected to everyone in the Colts organization, and Jacoby definitely probably was surprised by this one. In a press conference following that, Colts general manager Chris Ballard would name Brissett the full-time starting quarterback going into the season. In Week 1 against the Los Angeles Chargers, he would throw for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those aren't insane numbers, but he was going to get the job done, but they lost 30-24 in overtime. This should have been a win for him, and I'll explain later. In his next game against the Titans, he'd lead them to a 19-17 win behind 3 touchdown passes and 1 interception. In their Week 3 matchup, he threw for 310 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as he completed all of his first 16 passing attempts, and the Colts won 27-24. So far, Jacoby actually looked really good, and the Colts looked like they were going to be a playoff team. They would go on the road and upset the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, and then in Week 7 against the Houston Texans, a game that I was at, Brissett threw for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns in their 30-23 win. He was named the AFC Offensive Player of the Week for his performance, and the Colts were absolutely surging at this point. But the remainder of the season did not fare well for Brissett, as the Colts would finish 3-6 on the year. In that stretch, he only passed for 172.7 yards per game and totaled only 4 passing touchdowns compared to 3 picks. He finished the year with 2,942 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 6 picks, to go along with 228 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So Jacoby started out really well, and then all of a sudden everything came crashing down and he was done. But what really happened? Let's take a closer look. There's one thing that we have to take note of, is that he had actually suffered a knee injury that forced him to miss time against the Dolphins, and many people in the Colts front office believe that knee injury is what made him struggle down the stretch of the season. And you also have to add in the fact that Indianapolis was hit with the injury bug, and his 5 best weapons were out. T.Y. Hilton would miss a ton of games, Devin Funchess would miss the entire season, Paris Campbell was out after week 1, Eric Ebron battled an injury, and even Marlon Mack spent time injured. His best wide receiver to throw to was Zach Pascal, and a bunch of guys who had seen time on the practice squad. So you can't really blame him for all of that. And while he didn't throw for over 20 touchdowns, he also did not turn the football over much. Only throwing 6 picks is a pretty big deal, and taking care of the football is one of the most important jobs for a quarterback, and you cannot knock on Brissett very much for that. And then one final reason I want to bring up why Jacoby Brissett struggled is Adam Vinatieri. Vinatieri is the all-time leading point scorer in the NFL, and will likely go down as the best kicker to ever do it. But he had a career high in missed kicks, and he had some kicks that would cost the Colts some wins. As I alluded to earlier, Vinatieri missed 2 field goals and an extra point in their overtime loss to the Chargers. Had he made one of those 3 kicks during the game, the Colts would have likely won in regulation, and that would have been a win for him. He missed extra points and field goals against the Broncos and Titans, and those are games that the Colts could have won by a lot more, but this made it very stressful on Brissett and the Colts. The Colts lost 16-12 against the Dolphins, and he missed an extra point in that game, so instead of being able to kick a game-winning field goal to tie it, they had to go for a touchdown. The height of this was the Pittsburgh Steelers game. They were down 26-24 against the Steelers with 71 seconds left, and they called on Vinatieri to have the game-winning kick. His 43-yard field goal attempt went so far right that the fans caught the ball. Those were 3 games that the Colts could easily have won, and they would have been 7-1 instead of 5-3. This caused a lot of poor momentum, and the Colts finished the season poorly after this. Had they had started out 7-1, Brissett and the Colts likely would have made the playoffs, and the whole narrative changes for him. The difference between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs as a first-year quarterback is a big deal, and that was the test that Colts fans were putting him through. Everyone likes to blame him, but he got thrown in with the Wolves, lost his 5 best playmakers to injury, and his Hall of Fame kicker cost them arguably 3 games. Maybe the Colts were going to move on from him no matter what, but I feel like they really gave Jacoby Brissett a real chance, and a lot of people don't give him enough credit that he deserves. He gets blamed for everything that happened last year, and a lot of this stuff was out of his control. Yes, he was not an elite quarterback, and he did struggle at times, especially in those last 9 games, but he was definitely not as bad as people made it sound, and the Colts had won games before that. They had beaten the Titans, Texans, and Chiefs, 3 teams that ended up making the playoffs. Overall, though, I'm super glad he's the backup for the Colts right now, and Philip Rivers is doing okay, I guess, but the Colts need to start thinking about the future at the quarterback position, and I don't think Jacoby Brissett will ever get another chance. What do you guys think, though? I hope you guys enjoyed today's video topic, as this was about the NFL, and if you guys think I should do more, be sure to give it a like, share this video with your friends, and comment what you think. While you're still here, check out all my other videos, and if you're new, subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss another upload of mine. But until next time, peace.